Hello. We're with Sabine Kurjo McNeil, who is the mother.
No,
Sorry.
I'm the Mackenzie friend. I'm the
I see.
legal advisor,
I see. Oh, okay. So you are the advisor to
the mother.
the mother, and you are now in the UK.
No, no, no. I've
Oh,
left. On Wednesday, I decided to leave London
uh-huh.
and would go to Germany.
I see. And why did you decide to leave? I'm just curious.
Because my colleague, another Mackenzie friend, had already read an email that the mother had sent at 3 in the morning, which contained what is called the latest position statement of the local authority. The local authority is the one that has taken the mother's children into care, and they are the ones who are mounting the court proceedings. And they put into that position statement that they were basically thinking about a prosecution against me, where they wanted to gang up with two other local authorities.
And why would they want to prosecute you? What harm have you done to anyone?
My crime is that I have, supposedly in their view, that I have, in their view, published the videos that the mother recorded of her children after they began to talk about their experiences with their UK father. The father had always threatened to kill them if they were to talk. So the mother never knew why their behavior was as it was. But when they were on holiday together, her partner observed that they were touching each other and themselves sexually. And he asked them, "Who taught you that?" And they said, "Papa." That's how it began, that the children talked, and then they made a few videos, and they called me, and but the mother called me after the children had been taken into care and needed some help.
Right, right. And so, but it seems to me that you were doing a public good. You were doing
Yeah,
a
what I would like to think. Yes, thank
yes,
you.
yes. And so the authorities are concerned because you made this public. Therefore, you ruined their cover up. Is that it?
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. You're very smart. You're obviously very experienced, Alfred. Yes, that's it. I have been campaigning against the secrecy of the family courts in the UK for many years. There's an online petition which has nearly 2,000 signatures. I have taken a petition to abolish adoptions without parental consent to Brussels, to the EU Parliament. Since this case has now topped all of the cases that I've ever come across, and I've dealt with some 50 cases, I just did my best. And the best was a position statement that I wrote for the last hearing, which took place on January 26th. And in that hearing, I was not there physically as a Mackenzie friend, but I had provided the paperwork. And in that paperwork, we basically had said either you return the kids or we expose. And the Mackenzie friend and the mother came out saying they clearly have no intention to ever return the children. And that was on a Tuesday. And therefore, by actually, no, it was sooner than that. I then wrote an email to the Home Secretary, and that in that asking her, and that in that email, I blind copied a blogger, and he published that email, and he looked at the link, and to the Home Secretary, I provided the link to these videos, and because what the children are saying is so outrageous that in my own experience, I kind of could only believe it once I saw the video, the children speaking. when I had read what the mother had written down, it sounded so over the top. And that's why I put it like that into the email to the Home Secretary. And the blogger then looked only at 3 of the 20 videos that I had uploaded onto the Google Drive. When I got them from the mother, they were sort of unsorted and they didn't have proper titles. And I looked at them and I uploaded them and I sent the link to the Home Secretary and I never got an answer. And the blogger encouraged me to remind her and I still haven't had an answer. And I've now asked Justice Goddard to remind her maybe to do the right thing. Justice Goddard is the New Zealand judge who has been asked to chair the National Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse. And that's one of my blogs. I am also looking into this national inquiry into child sexual abuse because I've seen that child snatching is the beginning. Forced adoptions is 4% of the kids that are snatched. If, whether, when, and how they do get abused is sort of, I don't have statistics about that, but I certainly know that in this particular case, there are not only these 2 kids, but also 20 of them that are involved, and a total of 60 or 70 adults. And the police closed the case, saying crime not confirmed. And I'm about to put together the litany, if you like, of cover-ups to prove the veracity, because the whole thing is that this, because it was so inadvertent that this publication, this explosion started, it wasn't a planned and designed PR strategy. Therefore, the context is missing. The context is the petition. Have you seen the petition?
I believe yes, I have.
The petition says, return the whistleblower kids and abuse survivors of London school to their Russian family. And my email to the Home Secretary announced to her that I had included her email address in that petition. I had agreed the text for the petition with the mother, and to convince the Home Secretary, I sent her the link to these videos, and the rest is Google history.
Right. Now, we received at Exopolitics TV today uh, some further testimony. For example, this is from uh, a resident of the local Hampstead area. Um, Quote, and her name is June Wigan.
Ah, yes, I have seen that quote.
Yeah. Everything is completely true. I am from the local Hampstead area, and my
Yes.
children used to attend Christchurch Primary. They would often come home telling me about weird encounters, such as specific kids taken out of class by the headmistress, Catty Forsyke, for no apparent reason, and how the staff touch the kids and manipulate them. I was first approached to join the cult in an after-school meeting, and when declined, I was subtly told that if I told anyone about it, then there would be severe consequences on my behalf. And then they list the name of the vicar. And she lists the current address of the father of the whistleblower kids. And he says, I know him personally. He's a very successful and very wealthy man. Hence, he has a lot of higher member of authorities working with him to brush under the carpet. My child has also told me the school has often setting up any sort of pointless after-school class and extracurriculum activity as an excuse to get their hands on and do awful things to these poor children. It is only a selected amount of kids undergoing it because the parents have to be in on it, and the parents who decline get threatened if they tell. Now, could you go in? I mean, just for our audience who may not be familiar with the full details, could you go on and just explain to us what the status is of this case and how it got this far and what can be done from here?
Well, I got involved after the mother had been in 2 hearings in the local family court in Barnet, that local council. On the day that I brought 2 other Mackenzie friends along, she sacked the barrister and decided to go along with us. And then there was another hearing with that local judge who made this ridiculous decision that the father should see the children once a week, whereas the mother only twice a week. That on December 23rd, that judge transferred the case to the High Court, the Judge Anne Paufley. That was supposed to start on January 20th. Meanwhile, we filed on December 22nd what is called a judicial review. That judicial review is the deadline was that day after 3 months against the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, which is in charge of the little local Barnet Police as well. Barnet Police had closed the case because they apparently got the children to retract the allegations after they had been in care for 6 days. And they said crime not confirmed. However, the mother commissioned a report from an expert who looked at the way that the police had recorded the evidence, and the evidence includes fabulous interviews with the children, which are completely consistent with all these privately recorded videos. But those police videos were more or less confiscated in the first hearing at the High Court by Judge Paufley. And the judicial review by the Metropolitan Police had alerted not only Barnet Council, but another council. Barnet Council of the fact that confidential documents had been used, i.e. these police interviews, and the other council had been alerted because she had mentioned in one of her reports the sibling of a baby P, which was the scandalous case. So a name of a child, God forbid. That is what the secrecy of the family court is always about. Nobody is supposed to identify a child by name. And unfortunately, also neither by photo. But when they make the children available for adoption, then they can do it. In other words, there's one law for them and one law for us, the victims or the parents whose children are taken. That is the big scandal, Alfred. And that is, nobody knows about it because of this secrecy. So to come back to Ella's case, the Metropolitan Police, with their judicial review, caused 2 extra hearings, and they in the High Court there was this initial hearing even before the 20th, and then there was another one on the 26th, which made it clear that there was no intention to return the children. And that's where I published that position statement, either expose or not expose, either or you to return the children, and that's when the exposure began. Now, well, not only I had to flee, but also the mother. The mother had 10 police at her house. Fortunately, she happened to have had a barrister with her who answered the door, and when the police didn't produce a warrant, they goofed off. I can't remember exactly whether that was before or after. No, I think it was after I had left already. I had left because the document said that they're planning a prosecution against me. I got a phone call from the police on Friday when I was here already in Germany. So I know they do this, and what they are doing now, in addition to the High Court case and the judicial review, there is a police investigation that has been instigated by the father and the school who feel harassed. They are using the Harassment Act that feel harassed by the internet publicity caused by these videos.
Now, has there been any investigation, though, into the father and into the allegations that the headmistress, Katie Forsythe, and other staff, I mean, there seems to be multiple witnesses here, uh, other parents, a clear pattern of extracurricular activities. This seems to be a continuing pattern at the school. Is this just being swept? Is this just being covered up?
Yes, the children were first interviewed on September 4th by a private police constable who happened to have been a family friend. Then on the 5th by Barnet Police. Then again on the 11th when they were taken into care. On the 17th, the videos were recorded when they retracted the statements, and on the 22nd, the police put into their report crime not confirmed, case closed. That's why our deadline was December 22nd for the judicial review. So as far as we know, the father has never been investigated. So nobody at the school has investigated, and that's why the judicial review requests to reopen the case based on the witness statement produced by this that investigated not only the police report but also the children's interviews. They were very critical, both of them. But instead, that witness was also taken to court because she put a name of a sibling of a dead child in there.
Now, you seem to be an activist, or rather, you are an activist in this area. Have you encountered a lot of this ritual sexual abuse in the UK? In your experience, ritual sexual abuse of children?
I had seen 8 pages of a book on a French blog first that named places and people in the Portsmouth area in the south of England. And I am in touch with a colleague, though, who has a lot of experience. She recognized it, and another colleague who has even more experience. So I myself personally no, but as a group, yes.
Yeah. So, is there any solicitor that is acting independently on behalf of the children now to protect their rights? I mean, I'm asking a genuine question.
Yes, I'm sorry it makes me laugh because that is when I made the petition for the Brussels Parliament, I called it the systematic patterns of child snatching and forced adoptions in the UK, because they were not interested in individual cases. They wanted to see the patterns. And we now have something like 6,000 or so signatures altogether of parents whose children have been taken. There's an organization called Kafkas that is supposedly there to supply a solicitor who is supposedly working in the interest of the children. But you see, this is the utter hypocrisy that is being institutionalized. Everything claims to take place in the best interest of the child, and it doesn't. And now these kids talk about social services and Kafka's being in on this satanic abuse.
Right, right. And perhaps that is one of the reasons for the heavy police cover-up, is that their sister agency, Social Services, is in fact one of the implementers of the ritual sexual abuse. That would stand to reason.
Well, actually, the police themselves are in it as well. The initial document that the mother had sent me contained 16 police stations and names associated with them. The model, in quotes, is a Royal Commission into New South Wales Police in Australia in 1996 or 7, where corruption, reform, and pedophilia was the title of the report that was produced. And in the UK, there is one gentleman who's been campaigning, asking for a royal commission. He said nothing less would do, because there has been a document called PI, the Pedophile Information Exchange, that has named high-level people in the 80s already. So this suspicion of high-level pedophiles involved has become very topical in the UK. But that it could be A, right before my doorstep, B, involving a Russian mother and a UK father as the leader of a cult, and that he has so much clout over not just police and social services and local councillors, but ultimately even a high court judge, and besides the family court judge, is pretty surprising. Even the police, even the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police and their solicitor, who initiate two other councils. I mean, this is pretty horrendous, I would like to say.
Right. Could you tell us more about the role of the Russian mother here? Could you give us more detail?
Well, she has been very, very good as a litigant in person after she had sacked her solicitors and barrister. It seems as if it was nearly kind of unintended that she received the copies of the police interviews, and therefore the High Court judge confiscated them quite quickly. She has been trying to stand her ground with our help very, very well. But now that, since she had to leave the country when the 10 police were at her house, we, on Tuesday, when the 10-day or 12-day fact-finding hearing is supposed to start, she will be represented by this barrister who was at her house. And meanwhile, all contact with her children has been suspended, at least for 7 days for the time being. This has been right from the beginning, the framing and stitch-up that had been planned. The children were taken on the 11th, and in the police report on the 9th, it had already been said, more or less, that her partner was to be stitched up and she was supposed to be labeled as having mental health problems. Well, far from that being the truth, but that's the pattern that we've been observing. Alfred, there are at least a dozen cases that we could point to where the abusive father has been given the residence right over the child. And we can see that in this case as well, the children, if this internet explosion hadn't happened, I could have guaranteed you that the father would have had gotten the residence order over the children, whereas they had lived with the mother all their lives. There had been the Camden Council, where she was originally living, had praised her for her parenting abilities. They were not sent to school for 3 months when they were with the foster carers initially. The foster carers noted that and how they had nightmares because, after all, the father had threatened to kill them. So the whole situation is really one of cover-up and stitch-up, where anybody who can't cope with believing the allegations of the children can possibly be convinced by the cover-ups. But I have to spell that out in a very concise manner still.
Now, do you have a solicitor in the UK that's representing your interests?
Not yet. I have contacted somebody because I was told that when the police when they wanted to know when I'm coming back, and I said I don't know, and I said that. So they mentioned appointment, and somebody else to whom this kind of thing has happened, who has been advising as well, she said you need to have a solicitor and you need who accompanies you to the appointment. So I contacted somebody whom I had met once before, who was quite familiar with the ugliness of these family courts, and he copied in the leader of a criminal solicitor firm. Well, I sent them the document of the pension that I'm getting, so that I should be getting legal aid. But I hope that will take place tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to my nephew, who, after all, is a lawyer, even though he's not practicing yet. But and a friend of mine has put up feelers. I feel I need to look at the German lawyer as well.
Right, right. Now, so here you have uh, a a situation where there appears to be uh, a secret network that would include the school, it would include the police, it would include the family care agencies, the social service, the social service agencies, which are going against the clear uh, testimony of the mother, going
Excuse me.
against the
We're talking about the testimony of the children,
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
going against the clear testimony of the children, the clear testimony of the mother, and the testimony of of witnesses. I mean, we're a news agency in Canada, and we're getting testimony from other parents that say that similar similar acts have occurred to their children, and their children are giving similar testimony as to what happened at Christ Church School in 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 Hampstead. So, what is going to get this to give? What is going to get this cover up to finally, uh, uh, get law and order to land there?
Well, that's exactly what I asked Justice Goddard, the New Zealand judge who is to be appointed to chair the national inquiry into supposedly historic sexual abuse. I sent her first an email as soon as it was announced that she was going to be appointed, and I sent to her a link to my blog, which I'm going to give you now also, which is called National Inquiry. .wordpress.com, because there the victim is not only an abuse survivor from, at the time he's in his 60s now, but also a whistleblower of Lambeth Council, where he was a head teacher, and then he's become the victim of 3 police forces. And he published a book From Hillsborough to Lambeth, which has been banned, and I saw him in the cells in the court. So this national inquiry at the other end of only, in quotes, child sexual abuse, not even satanic aspects, is out there, and I've drawn it to the attention of Justice Goddard, and now I've asked, how about this current satanic case? This and maybe you can advise both Theresa May, the Home Secretary, and the High Court Judge Miss Anne Poutley. My colleague has written a statement to the judge because she had been gagged. She had been asked, and even she, what I call this corporate gagging, she was supposed to stop me from publishing. And as a Mackenzie friend, the whole Association of Mackenzie Friends wasn't supposed to do anything. But of course, and she entered this assuming and thinking that this judge would deliver a fair trial. Since that became very clear that it wouldn't happen, because neither was the equality of contact established, nor was there any likelihood of the children being returned at all. Therefore, now Belinda, my colleague, wrote this letter and suggested that maybe the case she should recuse herself, or maybe the president of the family division, Sir James Murray, should take over the case. Maybe and Theresa May. I mean, if she can't afford to prosecute the criminals who are criminal, well, I don't know what is possible. What the people will get up to. What can I do? I can only spread the word, and I hope that we will reach 100,000 signatures on the petition, because the government has one rule: if there are 100,000 signatures, then the subject may be debated in Parliament. Unfortunately, it should be on their side, and their side is not nearly as friendly as change.org, but still, I think they can't quite afford to have that much internet publicity without doing anything. In fact, Christopher Booker, the only journalist who writes regularly about that, has just published an article. Why don't our family courts obey the law? And I'm just asking, and why do they use secrecy to cover up crimes as well?
Right, right. So that in this case, using using Occam's razor, it appears that ritual satanic abuse is the controlling factor. Would you not agree?
I'm sure it is. I mean, quite frankly, whether it's satanic or not satanic,
Well,
me,
that the ritual abuse that's described by the children is the controlling factor that is controlling the police in
yes,
covering up the case, in not investigating the father, in forcing the mother to flee to exile, in forcing yourself to flee to exile, because that is under the law. You and the mother are the subjects of what's called malicious prosecution.
yes,
Uh, and and the only thing that can account for that would be uh, an intent to cover up ritual, sexual, or a pattern of sexual abuse by secret societies.
yes,
And so it's those that is, if an investigation were carried out of the father or of the police, they're they feel that if the slightest amount of truth came in, their entire edifice would fall like a house of cards.
yes.
Isn't that what it seems?
Yes, yes, yes. That's what it boils down to, and that's exactly why the police closed the case without investigating properly.
Right, right. So you are now determined to fight this from where you are, correct?
Well, I there is a man called Ian Josephs who lives in Monaco. He's 83 and he has been observing the secret family courts for over 50 years. He has been advising parents at the rate of about 1,000 a year. When I met him first, his website is called forcedadoption.com. When I talked to him first, I said, what can we do? What can we do? He said, exposure, exposure, exposure. And there's somebody else, and another victim I'm in touch with, who said they don't like to they do find their names with Google. And and therefore, I mean, if you say I'm fighting, I continue to expose because the cat is out of the bag. In fact, that's what the High Court judge said herself already. The genie is out of the bottle. And I think she said that because the mother had copies of the police interviews. Now, I haven't even made those available yet. Because they were clearly part of court proceedings, but these privately recorded police recorders were not part of the court proceedings. That's why I felt okay doing that, making them accessible to the Home Secretary.
Right, right. Good. Um, do you have any items that you haven't spoken about yet that you would like to bring up at this point?
No, I just would like to close that with a plea for people to sign the petition and spread the word because I'd like to see the 100,000 reached. And if there is any lawyer in the UK who would be helpful to or wants to be willing to help me come back again, I would appreciate that. In principle, I'm registered to be in Brussels at a workshop on Thursday the 26th. And Brussels is a wonderful day trip from London, but from Berlin it is quite a bit of a journey. So I don't know whether I can go there, and I don't know how. I mean, how can I trust? Also, I feel I cannot. If I can't possibly travel and
So
and
this has really disrupted your life.
it certainly has. I mean, I had to to book a very expensive flight last minute, and I certainly hadn't planned on leaving there and then. And
So,
I don't.
so you need a solicitor in the UK to sit down with the police and to fashion a written agreement with them.
That I can come back. Yes,
Yes,
safe
yes,
for me to come back, safe in descent, because I have seen enough people be fraudulently imprisoned. I have
right,
visited them.
right,
I petitioned for them. I know
yeah,
what they are capable of.
yeah,
So I know that that's their game. That's what they want to do to me.
yeah, yeah. Good. How can people
And the
get?
mother.
Sorry.
And the mother. They want to get the mother behind bars as well, right?
Right. Now, how can people get hold of you?
Well, um,
Through through your blog? Is that
yes. I mean, I have my contact is on quite a few blogs. I've got the one on the Mackenzie Friends.
okay?
I'm not sure whether when people sign the petition, whether they see my contact there as well.
Okay,
The National Inquiry blog. My most popular website is victimsunite.net.
okay.
And I also have a Facebook page. So, I mean, generally
Yeah.
people find me.
And and is the mother making herself accessible at this point, or is she gone
I
underground, or what?
she hasn't spoken with me for quite some time.
I see.
The police asked me about that and I said no. And but she is also on Facebook, so one can find her.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and uh, we hope that as events develop, we can come come back to you to update us on these sad but important developments. And certainly, we're all concerned for the welfare of the whistleblower kids, but also of the children in the school,
Well,
and so,
yes.
and certainly all of the children in the UK and planet-wide that are at effect of these ritual abuse networks.
This is, I mean, somebody said the mother has basically sacrificed her children on behalf or for the sake of the others. They should have not, otherwise, she could have kept them outside the UK, and that's what Ian Joseph says. He advises mothers not to report the crimes of abusive fathers to the police because they would lose their children. Now, how crazy can that be? Excuse
Right,
me?
right, exactly. So this is what happens when a mother reports abuse. She loses her children.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's a
Thank you,
very sad
Alfred. I
lesson.
look forward to seeing the video. Thank you.
Thank you.